everyone, this video is going to be a modeling and texturing exercise where we will be modeling this table lamp. I think it's called Kerwin Metal table lamp, so you can look it up in Google Images if you want to have some references. This cube here is a human scale reference, so I will be using it to match up my reference image to the right scale. So I will add my reference image now. Yeah, I think about this size seems right. I can delete my cube and then I can adjust the opacity of my reference. Try to align it with the ground plane. So we will be starting the modeling with this corner here. I will start by adding a pipe joint. So first of all, you need to have this add-on enabled called extra objects, add mesh extra objects. And then when you press Shift A, and you can just search for pipe. You can add this one, pipe T-joint. The first thing we're going to do is actually make sure the divisions is a high number. I put here 64 because we will not be adding a subdivision modifier to this object. And I think from the distance we're going to be looking at it from the camera, it's going to look fine. So we'll scale it. Rotate it along the Y by 90 minus. Shade it smooth. Actually, I'll leave it at the center. Maybe I'll adjust my reference image a little bit, like this. Right, good. Now what we'll do is delete the left side of our object and then add a mirror modifier. So we're going to go to edit mode and vertex mode, Alt Z to switch to X-ray mode, and then we'll select the left side here, delete vertices, then we'll go to the modifier tab, add mirror along the y axis, z axis, yeah, along the z axis, and then make sure to check this clipping option here. We'll go back to edit mode. We'll select this loop cut here. Then we can just move it along the x-axis until this point maybe. Alright, so now we will be using a tool in a menu that we rarely use. It's I don't know what it's called, but you get it by pressing T here on the left. I call it the T menu, and we go down to the spin tool. So the spin tool, here you can choose the axis around which you want to rotate, and the origin of your rotation is a 3D cursor. So here you can see I will be rotating around the Y axis, and I will try to place my 2D cursor so that it matches the rotation of the reference. Let's see. As you can see, this is not very, if I go, it's not going to match the reference, so we can try again. And I will give you a little tip. You need to try to put the cursor on the same axis as your edge loop here. So somewhere on this line here. And I found that this one roughly matches the reference. If I do this, no, hold on, maybe up a little bit. Yeah, as you can see, this one looks good enough. You can also press Ctrl to do increments. Maybe I'll stop here. Okay, this looks fine. So if we take a look at our object, Now we'll just continue by selecting this loop here and then maybe extrude down up until this point. E to extrude, then right click to cancel, S to scale, then E, Z, just to have this sort of a shape. We'll obviously select this loop cut, and then give it a little bevel. Or maybe I'll add a loop cut here just to avoid the artifacts we were seeing. Hold on, let me show you what I mean. If we, yeah, you can see there is some band in here, so that's why we added a loop cut. I think even if you place it, no, yeah, you need to actually, hold on, I'll delete this and then maybe just bevel the corner as well. Yeah. As I said, you need to match the level of detail depending on the distance between your object and the camera. So if we will be looking at the object from this distance, I think what we're doing is it's actually fine. Good, now we will continue with the bottom part of the pipe joint. So we'll select this loop here, then BZ, go down up until here. Then same as before, ES to scale, EZ. Oh, I think I missed. Yeah, I made a mistake somewhere, hold on. So as you can see, once you get here, if you extrude with E and then try to scale, you'll see that it's not working because the edges need to be extruded each along its own normal, which is not the case here. So we can simply remedy this by applying the mirror first, apply, and then go back, and then just proceed as usual. So E and then S to scale, E to extrude, and then Z to go down. We don't have to close this off, we can just leave it as it is. It will not be showing in the camera. And then if you can see here in the reference, if I zoom in, you see the bevel here is quite soft, so I'll try to keep that in the same as the reference. So I'll select the edge loop here, and then B, add some loops, and then yeah, I think this looks good. Now we will move the cursor back to the origin, and then we will add a sphere. UV sphere, yeah, that works. We'll go to edit mode, Shift Z, delete these vertices, then press A to select everything. Yeah, be sure to be in edit mode here. We don't want to move the origin point because we will be adding a mirror modifier. So try to place this roughly the reference. Have to be exact. Don't worry about this part of the reference that's going over our object. It's just that the reference image is not orthographic, so it's not 100% perfect. It's fine. So now we'll go. We can shade auto smooth this and then add a mirror modifier again. Along the x-axis. It's already perfect. We can check if I think I can. I'll go to edit mode. Yeah, it's better. So okay, I think this is fine. And then I'll hide my reference. We can even add a one level of subdivision to make it smoother. Yeah, even move it up if you want to, so that it crosses the top part a bit. It's up to you. Okay, now we will model the base. Probably tell it's a simple cylinder. We'll try to match it roughly. Go to edit mode, select this edge, move it along the z-axis to reach the base. Same for this one. And here, I'll do something. Okay, if we take a look at our reference, we can see that this has a sort of a marble texture, but this one here is separate. So we can either have have it be part of the same object and then separate the materials in edit mode, or we can just have it be a separate object, which is what we're going to do. Actually, I'll keep it the same object. I changed my mind. So we'll go up to this point here. Then we can add a loop cut. Add a loop cut, move it up. Let's say up to this point maybe. Then Control B to bevel. One. Move it up a bit. Then if we select these faces, we can Alt E, extrude faces along normals. Then extrude it inside. Now we can just be adding some bevels. Two is fine. We'll be adding a subdivision modifier. Take a look at my reference. Yeah, there is no soft bevel at the bottom. It's quite sharp, so we can leave it like this. Shade, auto smooth, then add one level of subdivision. I think this looks fine. If you want it to match exactly the same size, you can be more precise in your modeling if you want. It's up to you. I'm thinking about, should I add a solidify modifier? I mean, it depends on the angle. If we look at the lamp from this angle, maybe it's not even going to matter whether we have a solidify modifier on this, so I'll leave it like this. Maybe we'll change it later, we'll see. Now we will move to texturing. The materials are going to be very basic, as you will see. We'll be using a little trick for the marble pot, but that's it. The rest is going to be very basic. I can keep this at 1 for the render as well, so I noticed that render 1 has 2. Okay, so we will hide our reference. We'll add a ground plane, maybe, and then switch to cycles. Add a new window for materials. Okay, we'll start with this one here. I'll call it basic metal. If I'm not mistaken, if I look at my reference here, okay, so I can see that these two might be the same material, I think. Yeah, this is the same, so we'll be using the same for these two objects here. You probably guessed that it's simply metallic material. We'll try to match the color. I think you can match, no, you can't. I thought that maybe it changed, but you can match color to anything on the Blender window, but like for instance I can choose the red here, but you can't use the eyedropper on external images, I think, I might be wrong. Correct me in the comments if there is a way to do that. So I'll try to match the color a bit. Maybe like this. I mean, it depends again on your lighting, of course. So I'm using a Studio HDRI from Polyhaven Classic. Trying to look at the lighting here on the reference and then matching it a bit. Okay, you can go further and maybe add some roughness variation if you want with the noise texture. We will do that for the marble, but for this one I think I'm gonna keep it like this, very basic. I'm not sure if it's the same. I really can't tell if it's the same material or not. We'll see. If I give this one the same material, basic metal. Let's see. Hold on. Let me make it independent from the first one and then change the roughness a bit. Yeah, I'll keep it this way and then at least we can control them separately. We'll see. So now for the marble texture, we're gonna go to ambient CG, explore, type marble, and then I think I'll be using this one. So we can go to this marble 20, and then here you'll see that we'll only be using the displacement texture because I just want this vein texture here, this veiny texture. You can probably do it procedurally with nodes, but I think this way seems easier. I'll download the 4K map. Where if we take a look at the displacement map, we can just feed this directly into our color. So we will be using it to drive the color, and then we can even switch it up a little bit with the color ramp. That way I have access directly to the same marble texture in the reference. So I will drag and drop my displacement here. Then I'll add a color ramp, not mix color, sorry. Plug the color into the factor. Then here I can click on the displacement, then press Ctrl T. You obviously need to have the node wrangler enabled. Probably heard that a million times. So now, yeah, we will be UV unwrapping this. It's very simple. If you want to UV unwrap cylinders, you just, hold on, I'll go to viewport shading so you can see it more clearly. You select simply the upmost and downmost loops, and then one edge on the corner, preferably one behind because it will not be seen by the camera. So I can select this one, and then one here. Then here, and then as I said, we can just select a loop along this here. Yeah, so U, mark seam, and then you can just press A, U, unwrap. Cool. We'll go back to shading to rendered view. Oh yeah, I made a bit. I just noticed I added my notes here on the old material. We'll just go back, it's not a problem. New material, I'll call this base. We'll go back to this material, then select all this, Control copy, go back to this one, Control V. Now we have it here. I don't even know, can you do Control X? Oh yeah, you can. Alright, that's good. We can plug this here. Then you can see, hold on, if I press Ctrl Shift and then click on the color ramp, it's like a visualizer, so you can, it shows what the texture is outputting. So we'll see. We obviously need to switch these because we want, in our reference, it's a black marble with white veins. Right, we'll fix this. Hold on. As you can see, we're getting a bit close to the reference. Hold on, I'll bring back the reference. We can even scale it along the Y. If you want to stretch it a bit, maybe 2. If I switch this to non-color, oh yeah, I'll leave it as RGB. Yeah, because we're using this for the kind of channel, so it does make sense. Alright, so I can switch this to maybe a gray color so that the contrast is a little lighter. See? Yeah, like this maybe. Put the interpolation to ease. At this point, it's just playing with the colors. Here you can switch the roughness as well, obviously. You can see that the color, the light is diffused, so it's not very off, it's not shiny, as you can see. We can even add some variation with the noise texture, as I said before. So we add a noise texture, and then we can also use a color ramp, Shift D to duplicate it. Factor into the factor, and then Control Shift click on this so we can visualize our noise. I can plug this here so that we use the same map in. Okay, let's see. I don't want it to be I want it to be with a, I don't want a high scale like this. I don't want the pattern to be repeated a lot. I just want some simple variation in the roughness. So let's see, something like this, I think. If we plug this into the roughness channel, then go back to our principal BSDF. Here you can see the difference in roughness. You can make it a little less contrasty. You can even add, it's very subtle, but I think it makes the material a little bit better. As I said, if you want to match this exactly, you can always play with the mapping. Maybe even tweak the rotation to have something that's similar to the reference. Here, like if you want this line here to go up a bit, play with the X, yeah. So that it matches maybe this one here. It depends on you and how much time you want to spend on this. Yeah, I think this looks fine. Right, I think we'll move on to lighting and then rendering the scene. Before that, I forgot something. You can see here this top part has the marble texture, which we don't want. We want to assign to it this material here. So we'll go back. Then I'll switch to solid mode maybe. Select, we'll try to, you can press Ctrl and numpad plus to grow the selection. So we can select this until here maybe. And then I think you can press new. Here I'll choose basic metal 1 and then assign. Right, so now if we go back, you can see that this top part here has this material, which is different. It's the same as in our reference. For rendering our object, the first thing we're going to do is actually create an infinite background. It's called. I already have one made, so it's a good idea if you want to present a lot of. If you do prop modeling a lot and you want to present them, an infinite background is a good idea. You know, it's a plane with a. We're gonna make one. It's easy. So I'll delete this one. I will be having a wooden one, which doesn't make sense, but I think it's gonna work. So we'll select our plane, go to edge, select the one edge here, and then E to extrude, Z, go up, select this edge again, Control B, do a bevel, give it some loop cuts, and then right click, shade auto smooth. Now I will be using this texture here from Ambient CG again. It's called Wood Floor 40. You can download it, and then when you add a new material to your floor, I'll name it Wood. If you have the Node Wrangler add-on enabled, you can just click first on the principal BSDF and then press Ctrl Shift T. This will bring up your file explorer, and then you can just go to the folder that has your textures and select all the textures and then press OK. Just press A to select everything in the folder. So now as you can see, it added ambient occlusion. We're not going to use that, doesn't matter. As you can see, it made sure that for the color channel it's set, the color space is set to sRGB, and for the rest is set to non-color. We can notice first of all the stretching, and the second problem is that we have, it's like the normals are it's very harsh. The transition is very harsh towards the normals. That's caused by the displacement. So if I bring the scale to 0, you'll see that it's not gonna have any displacement. Obviously, we can just put the scale to a really low value like 0.01. Right, if I try 0.01, yeah, like this. Even this is too much. I'll divide it by 2, just to have a little bit of scale, a little bit of displacement. Even though, ideally, if you want a really good result, you should go to edit mode, select everything, and then start subdividing your plane. But we don't need that. We're just gonna leave it this way, and then use a very low. I think it does, by default, it does a little bit of adaptive subdivision, if I'm not mistaken. So the second thing we want to fix is this band in here. We can just go back into edit mode, select everything, press U, and then click this option here, Smart UV Project. Okay, and it will look a little better. But as you can see, the scale is off. So an important thing with tiles is the scale. It's going to look off if the scale of the wood tiles doesn't match the real scale of your object. So we can change this by going to our map in here, and then we can choose a value, maybe, I don't know, 2. Yeah, or let's see, 2.5. Yeah, 2 seems fine. 2 is good. I think 2 is fine here. Something like this. Now if I rotate my HDRI, you can see, yeah. I think this looks good. It makes the shot a little bit more dynamic rather than having, but actually 2.5. Yeah, 2.5 is better. Rather than having a plain color, or like just a regular color, you can have this and maybe it looks better. Now we will add our camera and start experimenting with our lighting. So Shift A to add a camera. Then press O to go into the camera. I already have it in my quick favorites, so I toggle lock camera view here and then move around my scene. I'll be choosing a high focal length. Close this. If you select the camera, a little tip, if you want to move it here, and then, yeah, if you want to have, so as you can see, you can use your scroll wheel to zoom in or zoom out, but if it's too sensitive, if it's like the increments are too high and you want it to be more sensitive, you can just select the camera by clicking on it in the outliner, or by clicking on one of the borders here. If you click on it, it selects the camera automatically, and then pressing G and then Z twice so that the camera moves along its local Z axis. So now it's more sensitive, and you can even press Shift to hold Shift to have it be even more sensitive. Yeah. Okay, so now I'll disable my lock camera to view so that my camera is independent. And then I will bring up my what is it called again? Asset browser, yes. I'm using the Polyhaven add-on to have the assets integrated into your asset browser. So now I can easily try out different. So for instance, if I just drag and drop, it's gonna switch the HDRI, which is very handy for trying out different setups. I usually go for indoor, I think. Studio, high contrast. These ones are usually decent. This is the one we had before. First thing I do usually is try to nail down the HDRI to have a good one, and then continue with the rest of the lighting. Sometimes I just use the HDRI, it's usually enough. Try now to play around a bit by adding lights, we'll see. You can scale down the camera if it's bothering you. Maybe I'll use the technique I showed in one of my videos before, which is by adding a plane. It's another way of having a gobo. I'll name this gobo. Then I'll add a Voronoi noise texture, a color ramp. I can switch to rendered view here as well. Distance into the factor. Then this one, it will be, I'll plug the result into the alpha channel. So now you can see it starts to create holes in our plane. I'll switch the interpolation to constant. Here I can set the scale. I can set the visibility on the object so that it's not visible in the camera. Now I just play with the rotation until I get something I like. As you can see, having these irregular patches of shadow and light makes it already better compared to before. Yeah, I decided to put my light on the same direction as the light from the HDRI to have it make a little more sense. This feels like sort of a studio setup, but not really. It's a mix of both. Here you can see we can hold on. I think I will play a bit with the. Oh, yeah, I'll switch to the base material. I might play with the roughness a little more. Hold on. Let me see. Yeah, I just wanna make it a little shinier. Having it set to be spline seems to yield a better result. Let's try to copy the same setup to maybe the other material here, the basic metal one on the lamps here. We'll see. If we don't like it, we'll change it. Alright, I think this looks good enough. We'll render the image and then do some post-processing. Now we are in the compositing tab. As you can see, I already have my nodes set up. You can copy them if... Hold on, I'll delete this one. I already have them set out in my default file, but I muted them so that I can activate this and disable the ones I don't want. These are usually the ones I use most of the time. You can copy them and have them set up in your setup file as well. So now we'll see the first one here, the mix between the noisy image and the image, is just a cheap way to add film grain, but I think it's not I don't think it's a good idea to do it this way, because usually the grain that's coming from the render engine is not, it's not similar to grain from cameras, so I usually don't recommend doing this, but yeah, it's still here if you want to use it. Maybe we'll start by adding a little bit of glare. So you mute nodes by pressing M, so now I can unmute it with M again. We'll add a little bit of glare. I want it to be very subtle, so if you put it to -1, it means the glare will be disabled. It's the same as muting, so we'll put something like -0.9 or maybe 85. Here I can just delete this one. We can also add some lens distortion. As you can see, it's very subtle here on the edges. You can see. RGB curve is the classic S curve. And then I also usually use this diamond sharpen. It just allows you to make the image sharper. You'll see like this. This is too much, as you can see. Look, it somewhat distorts the image, so you can play with it until you get something you're satisfied with. Like this maybe, or even less, 0.1. Obviously you can do your post-processing in Photoshop as well, which is something I also do most of the time. I prefer doing it in Photoshop than in Blender because I have more control. But yeah, this is the final image we get. Obviously you can try out different lighting scenarios. You can play with the resolution of the image you want to get, depending on the platform you want to post it to. Feel free to tag me when you post something. I will try to respond. And I hope you learned something. This was supposed to be a little beginner friendly. I enabled my screencast, so hopefully you saw most of the keystrokes I did. But yeah, the prop here was not very hard to make. The goal is just to show the process from start to finish. And yeah, I hope you learned something, and I wish you a great day. Bye.